Welcome everyone to Little Tokyo 2's new podcast series From Startup to Growup. We offer short, sharp 20-minute overviews and interviews of successful founders, as well as 40-minute extended founder interviews with successful people who have graduated from LT2. I'm your host, founder and CEO of LT2, Jock Fairweather. Simon, good morning. Thank you so much for your time.
Morning, Jock. Thanks for having me.
My absolute pleasure. So, I met you maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Was it? Something like that?
Right. Yep, around a month.
On the Gold Coast hub, and you'd come and you'd pitch some sort of crazy idea. You're a bit of a crazy creative yourself. For everyone listening at home or at work, a bearded man that supports the Blues, covered in tats, and definitely a crazy creative.
Not totally covered in tats.
Not totally covered.
There's plenty more space for an LT2 here or something.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Mm.
So, instead of me describing you, why don't you give us a bit of a description of yourself?
Well, you've nailed the visual, so partial to a tattoo, but yeah, and very new to this world. So 6 months ago, after the loss of my co-founder, Georgia, I contacted Little Tokyo after a lot of research we both did and got in with your good self. Before that, I'd been working on it for about a year and a half, educating myself to get to this kind of point where I could have conversations like I am with you now. Before that, running a wide format printing business, which I closed down, working with content, and that was probably working 10 years up to that stage. And before that, I was a traveller, ski instructor, bar manager through Europe and the UK. And that kind of led me to the conceptualising Nomadikz.
The wide format printing company, What exactly were you doing? Were you doing the creative as well?
I was doing it all. So the reason that I started thinking about moving online with Canvas Ink at that stage was that I was focusing, I just couldn't focus on one thing. I'd have to go out, measure and quote. So I was doing wallpapers and vehicle wraps. So I'd spend most of my time quoting. So me and my partner, Marion, we decided to try and streamline things and move online, and so kind of stumbled across Nomadikz in the way, using the gig economy or Fiverr and online platforms.
So you were using things like Fiverr and Upwork to help you do what?
Yeah, to help it, mainly to do quoting artwork.
Okay.
So I'd send off a vehicle wrap and get them to label. But I suppose the first point that I noticed was there was no feedback loops or quality control on that work. I was relying on them, and it was a 50-50 that I'd get the right work back.
Yeah.
And that became a big problem. I lost a lot of clients, and I thought there must be a better way to do this. And then I found out what kind of price point they were working at.
Yeah.
And that's when I thought, well, my friends that I'd met in my first 10 years of my life would probably work for that amount while they're backpacking. And then I thought, well, that competes directly with the current kind of market, using backpackers to do it because they've got the skill sets.
They do have the skill sets.
Well, I think a lot of maybe not when I was backpacking, but now I think with Gen Z coming out, they're born with a phone in their hand.
What's a Gen Z?
A Gen Z is up to, I think they're 5 to 23 year olds.
Right.
So they're born with a phone in their hand. They can use these drag and drop things, and they know how to take a photo, so they can start generating content. And
yes.
Yeah.
And so the idea around Nomadikz is to take advantage of, one, the fact that these backpackers and young people have the skill set to generate content. Mm-hmm. Two, it's likely that they need money to continue traveling.
Yes.
And then what is the other part of that? How do businesses benefit?
Well, I suppose they benefit from their flexibility, from the price points. I mean, you've travelled, and I think we've talked about that in the past, where you're willing to work for less. You're more travelling for experiences, so you're willing to work for less. There's not many options as far as a traveller has, so the price point will be lower, and we've tested the market with that a lot. You've seen the videos, and the other part was getting it live on a geo kind of social map or geolocated map. So you can say, I hate using this example, but Green Tree Frog in the Daintree, there's going to be backpackers around there, and they can take a photo, like a bidding system on there for that. So, so it'll be live, and then obviously the company that purchases that bit of footage or photo or still will own that IP outright.
Yeah. How have you tested the fact that backpackers have the skills and are willing to take videos or take photos for others?
Well, we did the little video set. So we went to Backpackers in Paradise and we interviewed backpackers for a beer.
One beer?
One beer.
What kind of beer?
It was it Stella? It was Stella.
I thought it was a Modelo.
It was Peroni.
Peroni, right.
Yeah, it was Peroni. One Peroni. So, for example, we did 5 interviews. The girl that videotaped or that recorded it for us got a 6-pack, so around $20, and she did that for a couple of hours. And everyone else just got one beer. So we asked them those exact questions, and they were very.
What questions?
Do you have a smartphone? Are you creative? And they all said yes.
Yeah.
In their answer, mate, do you like taking photos? What were the other questions? We said.
Well, clearly you've asked them for how much, like
yeah,
for one
much?
beer, for
yeah,
6
for one
beers.
Beer, yeah.
For...
So that was the feedback from them. Like, it's about experiences that they want. So if it's one more night in the backpackers,
yeah,
that's one more night in the backpackers.
Yeah.
So I think they average about $25 a day a backpacker.
Yeah.
So one beer is.
To stay overnight at a backpacker.
Yeah, yeah. So in a dorm room and stuff like that. But now with the technology out there, it's all available to them. They're an underutilized workforce that kind of I believe in totally, and they are creative. They're I suppose they're not in that 9 to 5 rut. So they're seeing things with new eyes every day.
Smelling the roses.
That's right. We're smelling the roses.
How do backpackers get money now when they're traveling, or do they generally just save up, or how does it work?
I suppose there'd be a lot. Like I went to a private school, so a lot of my friends were given money by their parents, so they didn't really worry about it. But the majority will have to go and do bar work, seasonal work, and although you're traveling and you're over in these countries, you're kind of working 7 days a week.
Get trapped in that bar scenario.
So I've been to a lot of great places around the world, but I've never really seen any of those places because I was on our days off we'd hire a moped and get drunk. Yeah. And do that. So people are like, I've been through Paris on my way to Val d'Isère or something like that, but I've never stopped because I could never afford it.
But in essence, by joining Nomadikz and creating
a residual
footage or photos for people, it can be your gateway to continue
traveling. Yeah. And it's really, and we really want to put a focus on education. Is so develop our members up to a kind of pro version where they could do a little network, and then give a finished product.
Yeah. So if I'm a business now, how often generally do I either release video or photo content? So how often am I sort of purchasing or doing it myself and releasing it on average?
Well, I think at the moment it's hard for us. With the other group on this other side would be small to medium enterprise. So it's really hard and really expensive. That was my other life was trying to do that for myself and competing in a really saturated digital printing market.
As like a freelancer.
No, I had a shop front and I was doing some work for some big clients and but finding the time from day to day work to actually to put my social media up was physically impossible. So I think the average spend of a SME is $750 a month on their content and stuff like that. But it's all generic and the amount of time
or half-assed because they're just doing
they're just so busy. Yeah,
on the side almost.
And that's where it comes back to using Gen Z or the millennial, like the kind of later millennials. They can do this like at the click of a finger, especially with like drag and drop things like Canva and stuff. You can get a finished product really fast.
So talk to me about how you envisage the actual model working. So I'm a company, I go on there, I put sort of like a tender or a proposal or something out there. Backpackers bid. How does it sort of work?
So from the small business side, you'd put a thing saying I need, a lot of companies import into Australia, so I need a photo of this product in this country at this time. So they could put a notice there saying that they want to do that. Backpackers could go and take photos and fulfill that order. The other thing that a small medium enterprise could do is look at a backpacking member's timeline of their itinerary and make a plan with them. So in essence, maybe a backpacker could pay for their trip before they go, doing a marketing campaign for those companies. But it's not just I mean, at the start it's video and stills, but you know, there's influences in there, there's design, and it really blows out after.
I think one of the things most people will be thinking is, how do I trust a random backpacker overseas with my money to do these things that I'm expecting? So
I think with that, being a backpacker and running these running these interviews, I think that you won't be in any safer hands. It's so important to them to keep on the road. With our feedback loop system that we want to incorporate into the first MVP is, feedback and quality control is going to be massive, and education in that early stage when we onboard. But I personally believe removing all the tech, that this will be embraced and nurtured, and they won't want it. I mean, if it means you can stay another couple of nights in Prague, then they won't mess it up. But I truly believe in them that way.
So as a SME, if I wanted a particular style of photo or video done, or in a geographical location, my first protocol, clearly I'd like Google and see if I could find someone that would do that stuff for me. But secondary to that, I'd probably just go on Instagram and message someone directly and say, hey, willing to flick you, $200 to do X, Y, Z.
Yep.
Why, what's stopping me from doing that, or why would I use Nomadikz instead?
There's nothing stopping you doing that, and I think a lot of people do use, like if you look at Tribe and stuff like that, they'll use the Instagram.
What's Tribe?
Tribe's a social media influencer. So if you've got 1,000 followers, I think it's 1,000 followers or up. It's run by Jules Lund. Those people will be hired to influence for a product and stuff like that. We're talking not, the really good looking people out there taking photos and selfies of them like that, which are mostly on Instagram. So you've got, number one, you've only got a small percentage on Instagram of travellers. Number two, actual travellers. Like they might be digital nomads or what they're doing, but I'm talking about like me walking around with a smartphone. So we're introducing the rest of them in there. So you got a really broader kind of thing, and some people don't. It's
not about what you look like.
No,
it's not. It's nothing about where you are, and you can take a nice photo.
That's right, and you can take. We want to make little galleries. So curation was a big part of this at the start. Curating like in other stock photo or stock footage sites, like scouring through there to find something relevant is a nightmare. It takes sometimes days to find the right stuff. Now with video marketing becoming so big, the right content that speaks to your audience is really important, and finding that through these current channels just doesn't work. It just takes too long.
You mentioned before about IP. So if I'm an SME and I bought your video of Burley or whatever, and I own it now, but it's still on your phone. So in theory, you could still pass it on.
Yeah, you could. I think it's the same kind of as the current gig economy. You that exchange or an introduction platform, and you'll own the IP once you make that transaction.
Yeah, I get that.
You can still, but you can do. I mean, I suppose like with content out there, it's a really grey point. I suppose it's really hard to manage this transaction.
I guess it doesn't really matter, because if I'm, as an SME, I'm using it for a specific thing at a specific time, it matters about my execution and distribution of it.
That's right.
Not the fact that it's our content, really.
Yeah, it might spark other ideas and people might rip it off, but that's what it's like online.
Happens anyway.
It happens like that everywhere. I mean, there's no... You're only as good as your reference when you come to be creative and stuff like that. So, but you can actually... I mean, companies could actually employ backpackers to make little niched stock photo sites where you can do it as you please with your content once the exchange is done.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
And how does the financial model work with this? So as a SME, how much am I paying generally? As a backpacker, how much am I getting? As Nomadikz, how much are you getting? So and how? We'll
be doing we'll be working it like this. Just it's a standard introduction. So on top of say a current like editorial photo or something like that would be from $350 up to $3,000 footage more. So $2,000-$3,000 to actually own that piece. We're saying that we can probably do that at 1/6 of the price, because of the flexibility of the backpackers, and I just think that the current content.
And you've done vast amounts of validation.
I've done 2 years of validation.
Yeah.
To be honest, but to say that I knew right at the start, because I mean I am a backpacker really in essence, and I know that it is. I just don't think that $3,000 for a 30-second piece of footage it's not right.
Usually, with other companies that do sort of introductory style platforms, what happens is once you've done the introduction, they'll give you their direct business card and say, just call me offline and, I'll do it cheaper or whatever. Basically, I'll remove the 20% Nomadikz has been adding.
Yes.
And I'll just do it for you.
Yes. And that's,
what do you think?
Well, I agree with that, and I've done that. I've been guilty of that in the past as well. I think that the focus on education and developing our members will mean that they'll want to keep coming. We want to really develop a big community or a tribe, which is why it's called Nomadikz and why the wolf is the logo of it, and create a pack. And with those feedback loops, I mean, I think every freelancer site has that issue, but we really want to develop our members and make them feel at home.
But I guess if there's enough work coming through that's available, it means as a backpacker you could be doing a job a day or 5 jobs a day if you wanted to, right? So then why would you take it offline? That's
right. That's exactly right. I think that the better feedback loops, and us really rewarding them for their appropriately will create loyalty in our brand.
How do you plan on getting backpackers on the platform, and how do you plan on getting SMEs on the platform?
Well, there's a couple other people involved. There's Tim and Kevin at the moment too. So they're both video marketers. So they've got their own special ways of getting it out there via video marketing, which is what we're really.
But do they have databases of loyal people?
Yeah, they do. We've done a couple of landing pages and done the same thing to SMEs and video marketers. So we've asked them some similar questions. How much is your monthly spend? Just do you like the broader concept and stuff, and they're really behind it. So we've got a captive.
What were like the results of your landing page testing?
Okay, I've got the landing page was. The big question was, would you be willing to recontribute back into the platform via education and stuff like that to our members?
Okay.
And 100% said yes. The average, I said before, 750 was their average monthly spend, and their biggest issue with the industry is generic, reused, repetitive content. So that was their feedback.
And so how do you expect to get backpackers on the platform?
Well, backpackers, I've never really worried about that. I mean, when you go and speak to them, they're like, hurry up and get this out. We've thought about a lot of ways. Like, one's a job search. Like putting a job search out there on global backpacking job boards, travel for a living, generating content. Who wouldn't want to do it?
Yeah.
So, and as long as we're legit and
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't do it. No. You've done it.
I just like working.
Yeah, you've done it already though. You went to London and...
Yeah, I did all sorts of shit, but I just like working, not dicking around.
But I suppose that comes back to this. I got said that I dicked around for the first 10 years of my life, but when I was travelling, I learnt to be tolerant of other races and religions.
Yes.
I've learnt not to be homophobic. I learnt, to appreciate the things while I was travelling. If I hadn't have gone over and done that, I don't think I'd be the person that I am today. I think I'd be an asshole, to be honest. But so I credit the first 10 years of that travelling. Like, some of my greatest friends have been, and now they're industry leaders and stuff in the UK. So,
but one of the things that attracts me to you as a founder is sort of your world and cultural understanding and experience. Clearly, you've got a really strong network that you've built over this time of. Yeah. Although I called it dicking around, it will probably pay back.
I think it will.
A millionfold.
And I'll tell you what, those people that I met over there have been more supportive of this last 2 years than my really close network of my first 15 years in Australia.
Yeah.
They didn't really understand it, but once you see the world, you might say that I've got a bit of culture and stuff about me, but I want to see a lot more, and that was why I wanted to start this. This was a solution to me wanting my wanderlust that I wanted to solve, and then it kind of blew out to this, and now I'm kind of working through how to scale this and do it justice so everyone
Yes.
can have that opportunity. I think that's why I'm working so hard. And, you know, coming to Little Tokyo 2, before that I was so far off, but in the last 6 months development of being here, especially after losing Georgia and kind of a lot of relationships breaking down down there, you know, I just wanted to do this justice for my wife Marion and myself, and then it became more about a responsibility to sharing this idea with the backpackers. So all the problems that I've had with like just desperately wanting to travel, they don't have that problem anymore. That's what I want. I want just an alternative for them to make money while they're on the road.
I love it. I can't wait.
I can't wait either.
And that's it for another week with our podcast series From Startups to Growups. If you enjoyed that, you can find out more about Little Tokyo 2 on www.littletokyo2.com, and you can find more of our podcasts on soundcloud.com/Little Tokyo 2. Thank you, and speak to you next week.